I wanted to I want to hear Sana, what her memory of the First Intifada was. Just to make one comment, as I said, I always relied on Musa's judgment about the situation there. And I asked him, well, what do you think the Palestinians did wrong? And Musa, you can comment on it now, but I remember very distinctly your analysis back then was they should have won some demand and then just end the Intifada. What happened was, for those of you who are too young to remember, it never ended officially. It just, they would say 1990, it's still the Intifada. 91, it's still the Intifada. But there was no Intifada anymore. And it officially ends, if you look at the books, the history books, it ends with Oslo. But in fact, it ended much sooner. There was never any official, it's over. And Musa's view was, you should have won something and then just ended it, rather than feeling, as most Palestinians felt that for all the sacrifice, they got nothing. So what's your opinion now, Musa?
I think, now, later, maybe I thought it, deeper than, when I was, in the middle of the Intifada, that, the Intifada started when, the life of Palestinians was very, very good. They used to work freely in Israel. They had good incomes from working in Israel. And life was well, People, supported the Palestinians, supported Intifada because they wanted, they did not accept the occupation. Compared with the second Intifada, with now, workers did not go to work, and activists closed bureaus, and the army forced people to open the roads to let the workers go to Israel, and they didn't want. There was the public education, because of the closure of schools. The values in Palestinians, supported each other. Rich families, give food to, poor families, because all Palestinians, were unemployed, during the first years of the Intifada. Now it's different, I'm sorry, to say that, you don't believe me if I say that, the Palestinians would oppose, many Palestinians would oppose, a new Intifada, because, their life, was changed. When, General Dayton, the American General Dayton came, he said one, famous statement that he would create the new Palestinians. And I think, the West, the Americans, and the Palestinian leadership, the Israelis, all worked to find the new Palestinians who would, their life was stick to life, which is, higher standard of life, not like, the days of the First Intifada. So, I was asked, and, in the media sometimes, Al Mayadeen, or the television which supported the Palestinians, say that, the Palestinians are, starting a third Intifada, which I suspect that, because, the Americans and the Europeans, the Israelis, and they worked, very hard on the new Palestinians. But, I remember also when Golda Meir said that the old generation, would die and the new generation would forget. But it's not a matter of memory, it's a matter of life. The second the Oslo, I wouldn't say the second Intifada. The second Intifada, it's different from the first Intifada because it was militarized. But Oslo destroyed, which is a result of the First Intifada, destroyed the Palestinian hopes, destroyed the Palestinian life, and I'm not sure, now the Palestinians are pushed to the corner. There is, individual resistance, but I don't think, it would last, I'm sorry to say that. I'm hopeless. I'm hopeless about the future. The Palestinians are left now with no hopes. They are frustrated, and they are scared also of the new changes, the political changes in Israel. Now Israel is, turning to a real fascist, countries with, Ben Gvir and, with Netanyahu.
Musa, I have a question about something that you said, since we're on the subject of your arrests and things of that nature. You were emphatic, for instance, when you said that during the First Intifada, you did not even once ever throw a stone. And I'm not sure if all viewers would appreciate this, but at the time, what was going on was there was something called the Iron Fist campaign by Rabin. He wasn't the prime minister at the time. I forget what his role was then.
Yeah, he was the defense minister, I think. Rabin.
Okay. Yeah. So as defense minister, there was this campaign, Iron Fist, and one of the things that happened was there was this kind of very open system put in place where if somebody were to throw a stone, even if it didn't even necessarily cause any kind of damage, if you were caught, there were reprisals against your entire family, right? And this was not done in secret, right? This was done explicitly, right? This was kind of like whatever the law was, I'm not sure, but it was just an explicit thing that was going on. And when I was doing research for this show, I was looking up your name, and I saw even to the present day, like articles as recent as a couple of years ago, people in your extended family being harassed by the security forces. Is that an ongoing campaign of Israeli harassment? Is it separate from the kind of like more generic, Israel is constantly doing all kinds of campaigns in West Bank and Gaza, right? People are always targeted. Do you feel like your family is being specifically targeted still?
I not only my family. I wanted to say that in the First Intifada and after in the early 90s, I said before that we are 17 brothers and 10 sisters. My mother, she always repeats the story. She didn't know which prison to go to visit. My brothers, we were 7 at one time in jail. Even my sister was arrested once. So my family, not only my family, many families in the camp, in the everywhere, in the camp, men in the camp and villages, had more than 1, 2, 3 people arrested. So it was, it's, more than, needed for the Israeli security to arrest everyone, to harass everyone. And it's not like these days, prisons are different now from the days when we were arrested. You cannot believe, the life, we lived in prison. The interrogation was very severe, beating and putting the kind of sack all the time for 24 hours with the sack on your head. You don't see chained to the chair for all the day. I don't want to remember these days. It's different now. But it happened. So, my family was destroyed by the Intifada, you're right. And, not only my family, all the family, the people I know, The camp, every family had, one or two prisoners during the Intifada.
I want to hear, since Musa said his feelings now, I want to hear from everybody else on that. Just as one point, not a major point, but since you raised the question of the stone throwing, from whatever direction a stone was thrown, the home from where the stone seemed to come, the home would be demolished. And so I remember many parents who would beg their children, because there were some homes which were quite beautiful, especially in the Ramallah area. One thing that Muin left out was when people went to live in the Gulf, the breadwinner, the father, they sent back a lot of money. They sent back a lot of money, and people built beautiful palatial homes. And I remember the parents begging the kids, their own children, and people in the neighborhood, please don't throw a stone from in front of our house, because the house would then be demolished.